English Leap Podcast.
From Speak English with Class.
Hey everyone! Welcome back to English Leap Podcast, your leap to fluent English. I'm Jennifer, and with me is my co-host, Daniel. How's it going, Daniel?
Hey Jennifer, I'm doing great, and I hope all of you out there are feeling great too. I'm especially thrilled about today's topic. Want to share how the idea sparked?
Absolutely. Just the other day, I was chatting with a friend who's been working really hard on his English. He told me, Jennifer, I keep learning new words, but I just can't seem to remember them. That got me thinking. If he's struggling with this, I bet many of you are facing the same challenge.
Exactly. We've all learned new words only to forget them later, right? It's a common hurdle, but today we're here to help you overcome it.
So, if you're struggling to remember words, stay tuned. This episode is for you. And if you're ready to unlock the secrets to a stronger vocabulary, hit that like button to join us on this journey.
Plus, don't forget to share this video with your friends. Let's spread the word and make learning fun for everyone.
Absolutely. We're about to turn the challenge of remembering new words into an exciting adventure. So buckle up, because this episode is packed with tips that could change the way you learn forever.
Couldn't agree more. Let's dive right in. You won't want to miss this. So, Jennifer, let me ask you something. When you were first learning English, was there a word you just couldn't seem to remember no matter how hard you tried?
Oh, definitely. I remember struggling with the word inevitable. I knew what it meant, something that's certain to happen. But every time I wanted to use it in conversation, it would just disappear from my mind.
I can totally relate. It's so frustrating when you're about to say a word, and then it's like your brain goes blank. I think a lot of our listeners have been through that too.
Absolutely. But the good news is there are ways to make those words stick. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. How to keep those tricky words in your memory for good.
Exactly. So if you've ever felt like words just slip away, stick around because we've got some great tips coming your way.
Oh, before we go any further, don't forget, we've got a free PDF for today's episode. It includes all the key tips we'll be discussing, and you can download it from the link in the description. It's perfect for following along or reviewing later, especially if you want to put these strategies into practice. So be sure to grab that.
All right, let's dive into our first tip for remembering words. Think about the power of learning words in context. Jennifer, I don't know about you, but I've always found it easier to remember a word when I see it in a story or hear it in a conversation rather than just trying to memorize it from a list.
Oh, absolutely. It's like learning to cook. You can read the recipe, but if you actually see someone making the dish, it just makes more sense. The same goes for words. When you learn a word through real-life examples, like in a sentence or a movie, it sticks better. You're not just learning the definition, you're seeing it in action.
Exactly. For example, I remember learning the word serene when reading a book where the character described a peaceful, calm lake. Every time I hear serene now, I picture that calm scene, and I can remember the word without even trying. It's about making the word come to life, not just memorizing a definition.
Yeah, because when a word has a story or a scene attached to it, your brain creates connections that make it easier to recall. It's like giving the word a home in your memory. That's why reading books, watching movies, or listening to podcasts in English is so powerful. You're seeing the words used naturally.
Another thing that really helps, especially for long-term retention, is revisiting those words after you've learned them. You can't just look at a word once and expect it to stay forever. You need to come back to it a few times, and each time you review it, it sticks a little more. Jennifer, have you ever heard of spaced repetition?
Yes, it's such a simple concept, but so effective. The idea is to review a word at increasing intervals, like after 1 day, then 3 days, then a week, and so on. That way, you're reminding your brain just as it's about to forget the word, which makes the memory stronger each time.
Exactly. And there are some great apps like Anki or Quizlet that use spaced repetition to help you. They'll remind you when it's time to review a word, so you don't have to keep track of it yourself. I use them all the time, and they've really helped me lock in new vocabulary.
I love those apps. It's like having a personal language coach reminding you to check in on your words. And over time, it becomes second nature. You won't even need the reminders anymore because the word will be solid in your memory.
Now let's talk about making words personal. One thing that really helps me remember new vocabulary is connecting the word to something in my own life. When you make it personal, it sticks. I once learned the word adventurous, and I linked it to my first solo travel experience. Now, every time I hear adventurous, I think about that trip, and I never forget the meaning.
Oh, I do that all the time. For me, nostalgic always reminds me of looking through old photo albums with my family. It's not just a word anymore. It's connected to a feeling, an experience. And when you tie words to your own memories, they're way easier to remember.
Exactly. It's like giving the word a personal touch, something unique that only you can relate to. That makes it harder for your brain to forget it. If you can't make a personal connection, you can always visualize something funny or memorable. The crazier, the better.
Oh, definitely. I once learned the word gregarious, which means sociable, by imagining a guy named Greg throwing a huge party. Now, Greg and that word are stuck together in my mind forever.
But here's something that's really important. Using those new words. If you learn a word and never use it, it's going to fade away. You have to make it part of your everyday conversations or even write it down in a journal. The more you actively use a word, the stronger your connection to it becomes.
Absolutely. It's like building a muscle. If you don't use it, it gets weak. But the more you use a word, the more natural it feels. When I learn a new word, I try to slip it into conversations as much as possible, even if I'm just talking to myself.
I do the same thing. Sometimes I'll make a point of using a word I've just learned every day for a week. I might write it in my journal or say it in casual conversation. The more I use it, the more it sticks.
And let's not forget about those good old memory tricks, mnemonics and word associations. I'm a big fan of these. You know, little tricks to help you remember difficult words. One of my favorites is for the word ubiquitous, which means everywhere. I just remember it by thinking, ubiquitous means everywhere, like air. It's silly, but I've never forgotten that word.
That's great. I love mnemonics too. I used one for taciturn, which means quiet. I imagined a turtle that doesn't talk because it's too shy. Now that word is stuck in my brain forever.
It works so well because our brains love stories and images. The weirder or funnier, the better. If you can turn a word into a picture or a funny memory, it'll stick with you for a long time.
Another thing that helps me is learning groups of words that are related. Like, if I learn the word help, I can easily pick up helpful, helpless, and helper all at once. It's like getting multiple words for the price of one.
Exactly. Once you learn a root word, it opens up so many other words in the same family. It's one of the fastest ways to build your vocabulary. You don't need to memorize every word individually. You can just recognize patterns.
And when you see those patterns, it becomes easier to guess the meaning of new words you haven't even learned yet. It's like figuring out the puzzle pieces of language.
One last thing that really helps. Learning through your interests. If you love sports, watch sports videos in English. If you're into cooking, read recipes in English. When you learn vocabulary in a context you already enjoy, it doesn't feel like studying at all.
Yes, learning becomes effortless when you're passionate about the subject. I love watching travel shows, so I pick up travel-related words without even realizing it. You're learning while having fun, and that's the best way to remember words.
And finally, repetition is key. You can't expect to remember a word forever after hearing it once. Make reviewing words a part of your daily routine, whether it's setting a word of the day challenge, using vocabulary apps, or just talking to yourself using new words.
Exactly. Consistency is what turns a new word into something you can use confidently in conversation. It doesn't have to take hours. Just a few minutes each day is enough to keep those words fresh in your mind.
So, that's a wrap for today's conversation. We hope you picked up some useful tips along the way.
Totally. But before we go, let's turn it over to Charlotte for our vocabulary spotlight. She'll take you through some key words, phrases, and idioms from today's episode.
Yep, Charlotte's got you covered. She'll break it all down so you can leave with some fresh vocabulary ready to use.
Thanks, Jennifer and Daniel. Hey everyone, let's go over some of the important words and phrases we talked about today. I'll explain what they mean and show you how to use them in real conversations. Hurdle. Meaning, a difficulty that you must overcome in order to achieve something. Example, remembering new words can be a hurdle when learning English. Inevitable. Meaning, something that is certain to happen and cannot be avoided. Example, it was inevitable that the storm would cause flight delays. Pumped. Meaning, very excited or enthusiastic about something. Example, I'm so pumped for the weekend because I'm going hiking. Frustrating. Meaning, causing annoyance or disappointment due to difficulty or inability to do something. Example, it was frustrating trying to learn the guitar without any help. Struggling. Meaning, finding something difficult to do or deal with. Example, I've been struggling with learning new vocabulary for my English class. Serendipity. Meaning, the occurrence of something good happening by chance. Example, it was pure serendipity when I found my favorite book in a second-hand store. Vanish. Meaning, to disappear suddenly or without explanation. Example, I was looking for my keys, but they seemed to vanish into thin air. Mastered. Meaning, to have complete knowledge or control of something. Example, after months of practice, I finally mastered the art of baking bread. Slip away. Meaning, to gradually disappear or be forgotten. Example, the memory of his name just slipped away when I tried to introduce him. Locked in. Meaning, to secure or make something firm in memory or place. Example, after practicing every day, the new words were locked into my memory. Spaced repetition. Meaning, a learning technique where you review information at increasing intervals to help remember it better. Example, I use spaced repetition to study new words, reviewing them every few days to help them stick. Second nature. Meaning, something that has been practiced so much that it becomes automatic. Example, speaking Spanish became second nature to me after living in Spain for a year. Adventurous. Meaning, willing to take risks or try out new experiences. Example, I'm feeling adventurous, so I'm going to try a new cuisine tonight. Nostalgic. Meaning, a feeling of longing for the past, usually with happy memories. Example, looking at old family photos makes me feel so nostalgic. Gregarious. Meaning, person who enjoys being around others, sociable. Example, Greg is so gregarious, he's always organizing fun events for his friends. Taciturn. Meaning, quiet or saying very little. Example, despite being friendly, she was often quite taciturn in large groups. Consistency. Meaning, doing something regularly and in a steady way to achieve results. Example, consistency is key when it comes to learning a new language. Slip it into conversation. Meaning, to casually include or mention something in a conversation. Example, I learned a new word yesterday, so I'm going to slip it into conversation today. And that's it for today's vocabulary review. I hope these new words were helpful, and I'm sure you're excited to start using them in your English conversations.
Thanks, Charlotte. That was super helpful as always.
Yes, thank you, Charlotte. Remember, building your vocabulary step by step is a great way to level up your English.
So, there you have it. Some of our best tips to help you remember words. Whether it's learning words in context, using spaced repetition, or connecting new words to personal experiences, there's a strategy for everyone.
And remember, the more fun and personal you make it, the more likely those words will stick. So get out there, try these tips, and make vocabulary learning something you enjoy.
And don't forget to grab the PDF with all these tips. It's a great way to keep everything handy as you practice.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep leaping towards your English goals.
And we'll see you next time on English Leap Podcast. Take care and happy learning.
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you.